Hey friends, welcome back to Astrology Today. My name is Mel Rose. Today is Friday, April 28, 2023. The sun is here in the land of Taurus, just starting out this transit through Taurus. So our outer lives, especially our work, social, and civic lives, the way we are involved out in the world with other people, it comes to revolve around very Taurus themes like establishing security, making sure we have the stuff and things that we need to feel supported so that we can get the work done that we want to do, right? So that's the sun in Taurus. The moon is now a waxing gibbous in Leo. Yesterday was the first quarter moon, so we switched modes from this sort of intellectual pursuit of setting goals and planning what we want to do in terms of our goals to actually taking action on those plans. So hopefully we're in that mode now and through the coming week as we approach the full moon. So when we get to that full moon, we have, something to look back on and say, hey, I accomplished that this month. Pat ourselves on the back and really celebrate ourselves for how far we've come. So that's the sun and moon. So today there isn't a whole lot going on in the skies, right? There are some lunar aspects, but nothing very strong or very potent. So I'm going to move on to tomorrow, and I'm also going to come and talk about this coming Monday, because we're going to have a few really rockin' weeks coming up, friends. Okay. So tomorrow is the 29th, and Mars will culminate its sextile here to Uranus tomorrow. So when I say it culminates, of course, that means we've been dealing with these vibes for a few days. This is when it's at its highest strength, that vibration, that conversation that they're having, Mars and Uranus. And this is a conversation of cooperation. Sextile says we work together to generate something positive, right? We're given tools to move forward. And Mars is that sense of initiative that we have currently in Cancer, sort of scuttling sideways rather than necessarily moving forward. We have to have a little more patience when Mars is in Cancer. It's a little more difficult to be direct, but we can still take care of business. And then Uranus is about those new perspectives, those shifts, those changes that we go through just to sort of improve our own experience, make ourselves more efficient, make ourselves more sort of technologically up to date, or up to date in terms of the thoughts and ideas. So Uranus brings shifts and changes. So when we have Mars, our sense of initiative, in this cooperative conversation with Uranus, our desire to make changes for the better, we experience an increased desire for excitement. We want to have fun. Okay. Mars wants to do active things. So this might be, like active physical play, that kind of thing. Or just sort of getting ourselves involved in teams or clubs or groups, or joining together with a partner to go dancing, just to do something a little bit different and have fun. We also have an increased sense of desire to take action on the changes that we want to make. So if there are any changes that you've been considering making, now is a time to consider going ahead and moving forward with them. You have initiative on your side. You have this really positive vibration, this very cooperative vibration for making those shifts at this time. We have an increased desire to, or I should say, increased cooperation to start on something complex. So if there's something you have been wanting to get started on, but it seems very complex, complicated, it's going to take a lot of detail-oriented attention, now might be a good time during this next several days to go ahead and make that start on something that may seem a little bit complicated. You are given the opportunity at this time to take initiative on those things. And, take your time, but just make a start, right? You don't have to get it all done at this time. You sure don't have to get it all done by the 12th of May. Just, especially if it's a complex project, it's a good time to go ahead and lay the plans and start taking action. And then, there's an increased desire for experimentation in intimacy. Okay, so when we're talking about our more intimate relationships, our partners, our lovers, our sweethearts, You know, there may be a little bit of something different going on between us at this time. It can be really positive, and it can really bring about just a greater sense of play to the relationship. So, you know, it's okay to be open to that at this time. It's a very positive time for working together with someone you love, even in an intimate capacity, to sort of give yourself an upgrade in your experience. Okay, and then coming up on the 1st of May, which is this Monday. 1st of May traditionally is May Day, and this is a time of year that's celebrated you know, by nature lovers and by those who observe the cycles of the moon and the sun and the planets and the earth, but also, you know, sort of by just pagan traditionalists, where we celebrate Beltane. So Beltane is the very outer beginning of summer, but it is also actually the peak of springtime, okay? Spring has already sprung by this time, right? If you're looking out your windows, if you're going out in the world, if you have allergies, you definitely know, right? But the trees are now all covered in green leaves. The flowers that were going to bloom in the spring have mostly all flowered. This is the height of spring. It's often a fire celebration, so if you live in a place where it's safe to have a fire, between the dates of the 1st and the 5th, it's a good time to get out there and, you know, enjoy a little fire while we talk about the start that we've made, you know, while the sun was in Aries, the beginning, the things we've gotten started this year so far, while we consider the things we've gotten started and how they are underway and how we wish to move forward from them. It's a very fertile time, so if you're not trying to make any babies, you know, be careful about Beltane intimacy, all right? That doesn't mean don't have it. It's just, I'm just saying, you know, be careful if you don't want to make babies. But if you do want to make babies, it's a good time to try. Also, during Beltane, what we do is we protect our resources in symbolic and ritual ways, often using fire. You know, traditionally, like these herds people would drive the cattle through the fire or over the fire to sort of protect them, to purify and protect them, or they would blow the smoke toward the cattle from the fire to protect them. So protect your resources, protect your, especially, you know, things that represent sort of wealth or something that you can trade, or something that you are, you know, that you can give in exchange, or something that might feed you. Something that might sustain you for a longer time. Just understand that those resources can be given your attention and your protection at this time, even if it's just saying a prayer for protection at this time. Especially Beltane is the right time to be praying for that protection. Okay, and then also on Monday, Pluto goes retrograde. So Pluto is that planet that is retrograde 6 months out of the year. Half the time Pluto is retrograde. So half the time we're going through these big transformations and changes in our outer life. And then the other half the time we're sort of reflecting and reviewing on those recent transformations, trying to integrate those changes, trying to embody in ourselves the transformations that we've gone through. Okay, so look back. Look back to this time last year and notice what has changed, what has transformed, how you have grown. Notice whether, you know, what feels comfortable on you and what does not. Okay, now is the time to be working to integrate those changes for us. And that's going to be for about 6 months through the 11th of October. So, you know, Pluto's retrograde sort of shifts earlier in the year every year, but it's a really great time just for personal introspection, reflection, and review on the transitions you've been through, the transitions you're going through, and how you can get through them better without so much being, you know, in resistance or dragging your heels, or sort of being in denial that there are transformations that you have to catch up with. Okay, just understand it and embrace it at this time. Also on Monday, the sun is going to make its full conjunction with Mercury. Here's the sun and Mercury on the page today. So they're coming closer together. They're coming closer together because Mercury is retrograde at this time, right? So Mercury is going to back up into the sun. We're going to have a sun conjunct Mercury retrograde. This is a time when we're more intensely or profoundly focused on our thoughts, plans, and communications. That's what Mercury is about. There's increased interaction with other people in public spaces, because that's the sun, right? The sun sort of activates that in our outer life. It can be a really busy time. We have a lot of plans, a lot of things on our plate. I know that that's something that's going on with me right now. I've got a lot of irons in the fire, and I can see how in the coming days and weeks, you know, something might have to get cut, right? We don't know what yet, but I can see that coming in the next days and weeks, I'm going to be pretty busy. So, you know, just understand that and embrace that. Mercury is retrograde, right? So what does that mean? It means that we can expect slowdowns and shakeups in terms of our thoughts, plans, and communications, our day-to-day running around and getting stuff taken care of. So, you know, go ahead and just be careful, right? When it comes to those thoughts, plans, and communications, you want to read the fine print. You want to make sure you are clear on what the agreement is or what it is you're supposed to be doing. You want to make sure, you know, to ask all the questions, even the ones you think might be stupid, okay? Be very clear before you sign any contracts, make any agreements or commitments at this time. And please, please, take care of yourself out in the world, especially in traffic and especially around other people, okay? Don't try to accelerate. Don't try to move ahead at this time, okay? Try to stay with the pace of things and really make sure you know what's going on around you. Now, coming up on the 4th, which will be, what will that be? Thursday. Coming up on the 4th, Venus is going to show us some action. There's this square to Neptune here that's going to culminate. There's also this sextile to Jupiter here that's going to culminate. So that's going to be very much about Venus and Gemini, the things we like, love, and can't get enough of, our receptive, attractive quality. And in Gemini, it's going to be sort of 2 of everything, right? Whatever it is we're drawing it in twice. We're going to draw in an equal and opposite thing. We're going to cause an equal and opposite thing to happen, or you're just going to see things in double. And, you know, a good example of that, Venus and Gemini, is, you know, the other day when 2 highly paid, I want to say, station anchors for cable news stations both got fired. One very conservative, one very much on the left side. So, you know, but they were just sort of exposed for really misogynist things. Venus doesn't like misogynist things. They were exposed for, you know, for misdeeds, for not behaving appropriately according to their journalistic standards or to their professional standards. And so they were let go from their companies, even though they were, you know, top anchors of this station. So that's an example of equal and opposite. That's something that can happen, is like 2 things at once, because you've got Gemini, right? Either they're doubles, they're pairs, or they're just kind of like there's this balanced equal and opposite thing that's going to happen, what you're drawing in at that time. And we're going to talk about that more next week. Also, next Friday, we have the full moon in Scorpio with a lunar eclipse with the sun in Taurus. Okay, so we just had a solar eclipse on the new moon, and now with the full moon, we're going to have a lunar eclipse. And this is called eclipse season. Now, the next eclipse isn't for a couple of months. I can't remember when it is right now, but the next eclipse isn't for a couple of months. But right here in between that last eclipse and this one coming up, things are in fluctuation, okay? Eclipse in Latin means to leave, okay? So we're leaving some things behind. There are transitions happening. There are transformations and changes happening in our lives. So if you don't recognize them now, that doesn't mean it isn't occurring, right? And we really want to be open and honest with ourselves about things that are changing for us, just in terms of our own hearts and minds. We want to be really clear about that, at least with ourselves, right? Reviewing and reflecting when things are retrograde. We want to be clear with ourselves, at least, about what is changing and, you know, how we feel about it and how well we are able to integrate those changes into our experience. That lunar eclipse is going to be a big one. It's going to be an emotional one. Eclipse, full moon in Scorpio, very deeply felt, okay, very powerful full moon. And then, you know, with the eclipse, like really anything could happen. Don't be surprised if you run into some surprises and changes, okay? All right, I think that's all I have to say about it today. I will be back tomorrow. I sure appreciate y'all for being here. Please like, subscribe, click the notifications bell. It helps me a lot, and I will see you all in the next video.